Aloha and welcome to the Joy of Crafty show brought to you by Ben Franklin Crafts. And we are super lucky because we have like an origami god with us today. We have Richard Alexander from Origami Do. And I'm so happy that you're here.
Well, thank you, Joy. It's a pleasure to be here. And of course, Ben Franklin is one of our most favorite places. We buy a lot of materials there. We're actually working on a book of origami jewelry, so we spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars at Ben Franklin's.
I can't wait to see that. I mean,
it's going to be gorgeous. And I'm not the origami god, but my better half, Michael LaFosse, definitely is. And I'll show you one of his designs a little bit later, but I'll be showing you two models that are on our Story-gami kit. It's a great way to learn origami. So I'm going to teach you an origami, Story-gami.
Story-gami, all right,
yes.
Okay.
Great. So one of our Story-gamis is this little dog, but he's going to take a little bit longer to fold. So I'm actually going to do a geometric Story-gami, and this might be difficult for the cameras to see because it's duo foil, but I hope that you can appreciate that this could be a beautiful ornament.
Yeah.
I actually designed it as a portable piñata. I call it the fiesta box, and you can fill it with candy, and it comes apart just like this. It's a wonderful gift box. You can make them very small and make them earrings.
Wow.
And I'm going to show you how to fold it.
Okay.
So we're going to take a piece of origami paper. Now mine happens to be two colors, and that will give you a decorative zigzag with the second color. I like to use a special method of folding the paper in half diagonally that I learned from Master Kase when he was alive. He was a very well-known Japanese master and teacher. And do you see how I just tickled the opposite corners with my finger and thumb? I can clamp them together and then spread and pull with my other thumb, lay them on the table, and then always go from the center to the point, back to the center to the other point. Sharpen it with the back of a fingernail or thumbnail, and you'll have a nice mountain. Now, the wonderful thing about Master Kase was that he did these origami with many folds, and he was totally blind. He said, "Richard, my fingers can tell me when the paper is beautiful." Well, this story takes place on the Green Mountain. And when the sun goes down, there's a point at which you can only see half of the mountain because the other half is obscured by the shadow. But when the sunlight comes up the next morning, not only can you see the mountain, but you can see this hiking trail that goes all the way up to the summit. Now, one day, well, actually, let's talk about the top of the summit of this mountain. It's way up where the trees can't reach, and sometimes things change on the mountain. For instance, there's a problem with something that's affecting the trees, and the vegetation on the top of the mountain is actually invading some of the trees, and the trees are now reduced to this lower portion of the mountains. And that happens from time to time. You know, out in Colorado now, they're having trouble with certain types of pests and certain types of trees are dying. But the vegetation often has defenses that it can take, and some of it is coming back. Now I'm folding this bottom corner right up to this line that goes across, and I'm going to call that the battle zone. Because sometimes the trees went out and it takes over the moss, you know, that lighter colored vegetation that's left. And sometimes the moss wins the battle and it's headed down to the lower section. And sometimes the trees take over. Now, in a math class, we would talk about upper limits and lower limits. On the back of this mountain, you'll see that nothing is happening. But that's a great place to go hiking because it's all full of trees and you can camp even up at the top. So here I go with my camper. I'm going to call him Righty because he's on the right side. And because Michael LaFosse is not here, I'm not going to call this guy Lefty. I'm going to call him Bob.
Okay.
Because that's my brother-in-law's name.
Okay.
So Lefty and Bob were up on the top of this mountain, and they decided that they were so tired they were going to get some sleep, and there they are in their sleeping bags in the tent. The next morning, they actually decided to go hang gliding. And here goes Righty, and here goes Bob, and the wind blows them out, and then blows them together just like this. So that's the completed element of this three-element piece, and it looks just like a party hat. Imagine wearing that. Okay, so what I'll do is show you how these go together. Now, if you would like to make it an ornament, just take about an 8-inch loop of any kind of ribbon, take some little Scotch tape, put it at the top of one of these side valleys, you know, that separates righty from the rest of the mountain. And you can hold this on your left hand just like this. If you look at the mountain, you'll see that this mountain has a glacier. And the best way to ski down the glacier is with these bright emerald ski tips, but they get stuck in the caves. Now leave this mountain fold here because you don't want the model to go flat. It's a three-dimensional model. To find the next mountain that you're going to go hiking on, just tip your thumb down. And then you can take a new set of skis and go down that golden mountaintop, just like this. Now that's where you would put in whatever your treasure is. You might put in a piece of homemade chocolate, which is my favorite. You can put in maybe a seashell from the beach. You can put in a pebble, or you can put in a 5-carat diamond. One of the three. All right?
Or all three.
So there you go. There is your Fiesta box.
Wow.
So thank you very much for having us.
This is great.
And I'd like to show you one of the pieces by Michael Lafosse. This is actually, I'm going to handle him very carefully. This is one square piece of our handmade Origami Do paper, which is paper that we make at the studio in Massachusetts. All summer long, we do paper making workshops with the world's best origami artists. Now this alligator is one square sheet, but it was 6 feet wide and as tall as I am. It's a square, 6 feet tall, and it's just folding, no cutting. And this fellow's name is Snap. He has an older brother named Clamp who lives down in a museum in Florida at the Origami Museum in Japanese Gardens.
It's amazing. All of this is just one sheet with no cuts.
You are what you eat. This little guy ate 36 square feet of my beautiful handmade paper. The reason that we folded this one is that when I was making paper for that contract, I made 4 big sheets of paper. Michael folded the first one. We sent it to the museum. People came into the studio and said, "Where's Clamp? We brought our family and friends to see Clamp the alligator, and he's not here." And after I heard that about 20 times, he says, "You know, we've got another sheet of paper." Michael said, "It took me 50 hours. I'll never do another one." But I said, "Well, it's a good thing I videotaped you." So I did the first several hundred folds, and Michael came along and curled the toenails. Well, that's not quite true. But Michael actually did all of the final shaping of this. And if I didn't do the initial several hours of pre-creasing, he wouldn't have attempted it because your hands can hurt if you're folding that much. So, you know, pace yourself. You should take a whole year to make a piece like this.
Okay.
But it is 50 hours.
But, okay, so actually your studio in Massachusetts, in Boston, as well as the exhibit that you had here in Hawaii, is called Origami Do.
The name of our company is Origami Do, which is one word meaning Fold Paper School, Incorporated. And we found that, especially in the Boston area, because we have so many Spanish neighbors, they were pronouncing it Origamido. So I said, well, I'm not going to run into that kind of trouble in Hawaii. I want people to recognize its Japanese roots. So we're going to split origami from do. And that's why we called it the Origami Do Experience. The reason we called it that is that we have interactive, or we had interactive teaching video stations. At one point we had 12 of them where people could come in. Everybody could learn something different on each of the monitors.
Well, I want to thank you for coming and for sharing. And, you know, we just kind of met really fast.
Yes.
But I have been on your website a lot.
Wonderful.
And I do have some of your books and videos to try and see what I can do.
And I might mention that we have 12 free video tutorials on the web at P as in Peter, E as in elephant, M as in Mary.org. Okay. And that's the Peabody Essex Museum, because they kept those origami tutorials right on their website, and it's free.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
PEM.org.
Thank you. And you have to let us know when you come back to Hawaii.
We'd love to. And I wish I could retire here, but we still have too many family out on the East Coast that won't. They say, it's too far.
It's warmer here.
I know. I say, well, visit your grandson in California for a few weeks, and then you'll hop right over. So take it in stages.
Well, thank you again. Yes.
Thank you so much.
And good luck with whatever you're doing, whatever you're folding.
Keep folding and meet Scott at the library. Mahalo.
Thank you. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.